I think everybody who has traveled on an airplane the past few years have had some kind of encounter, maybe not altogether pleasant, with the Transportation Security Administration, the TSA. And it was a good idea at the time, right after 9/11. Everybody thought, gosh, we've got to tighten up airport security. And so there was an effort made to try to bring some standard into the process. And one of the people who helped create the TSA was my next guest, Congressman John Mica of Florida. But there's no one who is a stronger critic of the TSA than Congressman Mica, and he has a number of ways in which he's trying to propose to get it fixed. He's one of the more thoughtful members of Congress, and I'm delighted to have him here on the Mike Huckabee Show. Congressman, it is a pleasure to welcome you today.
Well, good to be with you, Governor, and good to talk about TSA, which is in dire need of some serious reform.
Well, I think your credibility to talk about it is maybe singularly the greatest in the entire Congress because of your role in helping to create it. Tell me, what is different about the way it's turned out than the way you envisioned it?
Well, to start out with, we wanted to bring together scattered security operations in transportation after 9/11. And quite frankly, what we had in place wasn't that effective. So we brought them together thinking it could operate a little bit better. We had 16,500 screeners and limited administrative staff. And what we thought we could do is create better security coordination, information, intelligence gathering, so that we could, again, connect the dots and avoid September 11th repeat. What we got, though, Governor, was now we're up to between 65 and 67,000 employees, 14,000 administrative personnel, in an agency that's just spun out of control.
Well, and one of the things you've pointed out is that there have been literally several $100 million worth of equipment that's been purchased that's sitting in a warehouse. It's supposed to be screening passengers, and it's not even being used. And there has been just so much waste and absolute disgusting inefficiency in the way that this has been procured as well as then put online for use. Why?
Well, that's correct. Well, I follow this pretty closely, although, somewhat removed. They took away TSA from the Transportation Committee back, in mid-2003. But we do monitor or try to monitor and conduct some oversight. And when they had purchased the puffers some years ago, which they told me would work, I went up to Atlantic City where they test them. They didn't work. They deployed them at great expense, purchased them at great expense, then ended up storing them. Well, when I became chairman of the Transportation Committee a little over a year ago, I said, what happened to the puffers? And we got word that they were still in storage, and they were paying millions of dollars in storage. So that led me to starting to look back at if that's there, where's the rest of the equipment? Well, we tracked those down, and just as we tracked them down and started going after them, they did pay DOD $600 a piece to destroy them. That led us to warehouses full of equipment sitting there, some whistleblowers told us about.
So we're talking, and in one case, I think in Dallas alone, there was a warehouse with about 5,700 pieces of equipment.
Yes, and they lied to us, too. They told us there were 2,800. So we combined our forces with Darrell Issa. I'm on that committee, too, Government Reform and Oversight. It's our investigative committee of Congress. So we sent our investigators down there. They stalled us a week, and we said, we'll give them another week, and then we sent our guys down there. Well, we found out why they stalled us. They were moving equipment out the back door as our investigators were going in the front door.
Congressman Mica, this is just utterly exasperating. And Congressman John Mica is my guest here on the Mike Huckabee Show. At the risk of being indelicate, Roger Clemens may go to prison because he lied to Congress. Why aren't some of these people going to prison for lying to Congress? And frankly, whether Clemens took steroids, I don't know that affects me as a taxpayer. It really doesn't. I don't know that I care that much. I care a whole lot about a couple of $100 million of my tax money and the intrusion of my privacy every time I go through the airport and get shaken down by either an electronic strip search or have someone, a government employee, put their hands all over me.
Well, you raised some great questions, and we're talking about a couple $100 million in equipment that's been sitting there for some of it. At the hearing, we disclosed 4 years sitting there, and some of it might be equipment we could use. They've also have a history of buying equipment like the puffers that don't work, and we're finding out now that the advanced imaging technology that is invasive to people's privacy was procured, that they really never properly vetted the equipment. Other equipment was available that could have done just as good a job, if not better, and wouldn't invade privacy, and then split a $500 million contract between two vendors.
You know, Congressman, again, I want to be careful here because I don't want to put you, well, I guess I do want to put you on the spot. A lot of times, I know from even a state government level, and I've seen it at the federal level as well, the reason that we do certain things is not because it's actually been vetted as the best approach, but because a lobbyist was able to bring a vendor into the marketplace that was able to sell the idea to the people who are the appropriators. And you have to wonder.
We are investigating some of what you're talking about in the acquisition of some of this equipment that was bought with one set of specifications. Then they altered the specs on the equipment, and some of it doesn't work, and we're stuck with billions of dollars of equipment, and we don't even have personnel to operate some of the equipment that's purchased. So TSA, no matter how you cut it, is not functioning well.
Well, as a person who travels, unfortunately, several days a week, you know, there are moments when I think I'm just really at the brink of becoming a YouTube video sensation. And I don't want to do that. I'm hoping not to. And I don't have a problem with a lot of the people. I know they're doing the jobs they've been told to do and instructed to do. But what they've been instructed to do is to forego any common sense whatsoever.
Well, that's part of the problem. You know, I talked to Administrator Pistol when he came on. He came on during a period in which for a year or more there was no administrator. The Obama administration never got around to, well, a couple of their guys were rejected or withdrew, but it wasn't a priority appointment. So you have an agency that is already spinning out of control with no one in control. Again, Pistol promised moving to a risk-based system. Now, this week I just saw a report where they're patting down 89-year-old former Secretary of State Kissinger. What are they doing? I mean, can't anybody in the agency think? They're tackling 4-year-olds and veterans and little old ladies in wheelchairs, but no one seems to be able to think or change this to a risk-based system.
Well, and I think that is the frustration. I don't know what they thought they would get from Henry Kissinger. Maybe they thought he was hiding his Nobel Peace Prize in his jacket pocket, and he might turn around and use his Peace Prize to beat somebody over the head of the airplane. I mean, it defies all common sense. Last week, I've got a little house key that is in the shape of a gun. Now, it's less than an inch long, and it showed up in the X-ray, and, you know, the agent pulled it out, and I said, you know, it's a house key, and had to take a look at it and pulled my luggage aside. I said, look, have you ever seen a weapon that small? I mean, you know, it's so I can identify it from my car key and from my other key. You know, I realize I'm going to have to get another key but here's what I also found, Congressman. If I put it next to another key, it completely is invisible when it goes through the machine. So what's the point? I mean, it's that kind of experience that people like me who are frequent flyers have. I've even signed up for the so-called TSA pre-check, but half the time they say, oh, you've not been selected today. And there's an empty lane with several TSA employees doing nothing with their hands in their pocket because nobody's going through that lane, and there's a long line backed up at the other one. And I just want to scream and say, what's the point of having these background checks and taking my fingerprints if you're not going to let me use the lane anyway?
Well, whether it's you, Henry Kissinger, last week when arrived on the House floor, one of the female members of Congress from North Carolina accosted me. She had her a jar of peanut butter, which is going to bring back confiscated. Then they wouldn't accept her member of Congress ID. They wanted a driver's license, which is probably the easiest thing to forge today. Ask any high school senior or college student about that. But again, I think that the whole system is out of control. It needs to. We need to get them out of the human resources business and back into the security business. They can set standards. They can audit. They conduct some oversight, but they can't also be the operator of this mammoth system that's spun out of control and the bureaucracy that is sustaining it.
Congressman John Mica is my guest on the Mike Huckabee Show. We're talking about TSA. Congressman Mica helped create it and now would like to see it reformed and is leading the effort to do that. I don't know of anyone in or out of Congress or anywhere who says this is a wonderful, efficient system and it's working exactly as it was planned. So if that's the case, why can't Congress get this under control? And can you give me any hope that it might happen in my lifetime?
Okay. Well, at the end of the FAA bill that we forced the president to sign February 14th is a pretty dramatic reform. Now, it's going to take a little while to get it in place. We never intended for the federal government to stay in the screening business. We wanted them in the security business. We set it up for 2 years, and then airports could opt out. Well, they distorted that whole process, but in the end of the bill, we put a provision that now TSA must take those applications, and if we can keep them from intimidating the airports and trying to thwart the system, we can get them out of the screening business and back into security business, which is their rightful role.
Well, Congressman John Mica, you are doing the Lord's work in the devil's town, so I hope you will continue on your mission to make some sanity out of a very insane process. Thanks for joining us here on the show today.
Great to be with you. Thank you, Governor. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you. Congressman John Mica, and I wish him well in his efforts. We've talked about Henry Kissinger having the full grope going on at LaGuardia Airport, Nobel Peace Prize winner. And I mean, in one sense, you can say, well, that just shows they're impartial. I get that. But when you shake down 4-year-olds and won't let them on the plane because they're on a no-fly list, or you take an 89-year-old woman in a wheelchair and you're afraid she might somehow terrorize the plane if she can stay awake long enough to do it, you really do wonder how much common sense is going on. Well, we'd like to hear from you at 855-840-4825, 855-840-4825. What are you willing to endure to get on an airplane? Do you feel safer? Do you honestly believe that you are safer today because somebody made you put your shampoo in a quart bag and look at it, or because you took your shoes off? How safe do you feel, and what would be your answers? How would you fix it? 855-840-4825. This is the Mike Huckabee Show.
Does your roof need replacing, your house need cleaning, or maybe you're ready to update your kitchen? Big or small, whatever your home improvement need, now it's easy to find the right home pro for your project. Log on to home.servicemagic.com. ServiceMagic is a free online resource with instant access to pre-screened remodelers, maids, handymen, roofers, and many other home contractors. Just go to home.servicemagic.com. ServiceMagic has a network of licensed and insured contractors in hundreds of home improvement categories. If you need a painter, electrician, plumber, or any other home service, visit home.servicemagic.com. It's easy and it's free, and it's the source to find neighbor-recommended contractors in your area. Now you can hire a pre-screened home pro with confidence. Go to home.servicemagic.com. It's quick, it's free, and there's no obligation. Go to home.servicemagic.com. home.servicemagic.com. That's home.servicemagic.com.